Welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about a massive and honestly pretty dangerous blind spot in our thinking. It's something that affects everything from the stock market to how we build AI. It's called the Ludic Fallacy, and once you get it, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Let's dive right in.
So, it all starts with this one big question. We build these incredibly smart, sophisticated models to predict, well, everything, right? The weather, financial markets, project deadlines. So what gives? Why do they blow up on our faces so often, sometimes with absolutely catastrophic results? Well, the answer is kind of fascinating. It's a fundamental mistake that our brains are actually wired to make.
Okay, so where does this all come from? The root of the problem really begins with this deep, very human need we all have for what feels like control. We're pattern-seeking machines, you know? We're just trying to make sense of a world that can feel incredibly chaotic.
And that's why we love our models, our spreadsheets, our neat and tidy charts. They take this complicated, messy reality and they package it up so it seems manageable. They give us this feeling of order, of predictability. But here's the catch. This comfort comes with a huge hidden danger. We start to mistake our simple little model for reality itself.
And that danger brings us right to the absolute core concept of this whole explainer. It's the critical difference between the map and the territory. It sounds simple, I know, but once this clicks, I promise you, you will see this fallacy playing out all over the place.
So let's put a formal definition on it. The word ludic actually comes from the Latin word ludus, which means game. So the ludic fallacy is exactly that. It's the mistake of treating the real world as if it were a clean, predictable game with a nice set of rules. It's when we get so obsessed with our neat model, our map, that we completely forget it's not the same thing as the messy, unpredictable real world, the territory.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. In a game, our map, the rules are all known. The probabilities are defined. A die can only land on one of 6 numbers, right? But in reality, the territory, the rules are mostly unwritten, and the probabilities are a total mystery. The really big stuff, the events that change everything, what author Nassim Taleb famously calls Black Swans, those are the things our models never even imagined could happen.
So what happens when we ignore this difference, when we really start believing the map is the territory? Well, the consequences can be devastating. Let's look at 4 really powerful, real-world examples where this exact mistake led to absolute disaster.
First up, the classic case study. You guessed it, the world of high finance. This is a place where mathematical models are treated like gospel, promising this perfect scientific way to manage risk.
The ludic error here was just monumental. These huge financial institutions were using models that assumed the wild swings of the market would fit onto a clean, predictable bell curve. They were treating the global economy like a game of dice in a casino. And the disastrous result? The 2008 financial crisis, an event their models literally said was a once-in-a-billion-years probability. The models were blind to the unwritten rules of human psychology, things like greed, panic, and fear spreading like wildfire.
But hey, this isn't just about money. This fallacy is just as dangerous in the world of technology, and we're seeing it pop up right now with artificial intelligence and self-driving cars.
The mistake here is assuming that the real world is going to play by the same clean rules as the training data, and AI can drive millions of perfect miles inside a computer simulation. That's the game. But the result in the real world can be tragic, because when that car comes across something truly weird and unexpected that wasn't in its training set, like a strange reflection off a truck or a pedestrian wearing a bizarre costume, it can make a fatal mistake. The messy territory doesn't care about the clean rules of the map.
This fallacy also runs rampant in the corporate and government worlds, especially when it comes to planning these huge, massive projects.
Oh, we've all seen them, those beautiful, precise Gantt charts that map out a project for years to come. The error is believing for a second that reality will actually follow that clean path. We plan for what we call calculable risks, like a 2-day supply chain delay. But the disastrous result is that giant projects go wildly over budget and over time, not because of those little delays, but because of massive structural uncertainties the model just ignored. A sudden pandemic, a huge shift in regulations, finding an ancient ruin on your construction site.
And for our last example, let's talk about something a lot of us have dealt with personally, the way we try to measure human smarts and capability with standardized tests.
So, the ludic error here is pretty obvious, right? It's assuming that being good at a highly structured game, a test with clear questions and right or wrong answers, translates directly to being competent in the messy real world.
And the result? Well, companies end up hiring people who are amazing puzzle solvers on paper, but who turn out to be fragile and totally ineffective when they're faced with the ambiguous, high-stress, poorly defined problems of a real job, where you don't even know what the right question is, let alone the answer.
So you see all of these examples, and you have to wonder, why do we keep making the same mistake over and over again? Well, the answer isn't just that we're being careless. It's actually rooted deep down in the way our brains are built.
The truth is, our brains evolved for something called reductionism. To survive in a really complex and chaotic world, we had to get good at simplifying reality into these quick, manageable, energy-saving models. We are literally hardwired to create a simple map because trying to process the entire territory at once would just completely overwhelm us.
And this powerful quote from the source material just sums it all up perfectly. We fall for the Ludic fallacy because our simple little models give us a sense of calm, a feeling of control. We are, in effect, trading an accurate view of reality for a false but very comforting sense of peace. So how do we fight back? How do we push against this tendency that's so deeply ingrained in us? How do we learn to look beyond our beautiful but ultimately flawed models?
So, how do we actually apply this? Okay, here are the key things to remember. First, and this is the most important one, remember that our models are tools. They are not reality. They're useful for sure, but they are always incomplete. Second, be humble. Be really humble about what you think you can predict. The world is just far more random than our brains want to admit. Third, prepare for true uncertainty, not just the neat little risks you can plug into a spreadsheet. This means building in buffers, having backup plans, valuing flexibility over some rigid, perfect plan. And finally, never forget this. The most dangerous risks are always the ones lurking in your blind spots, the unknown unknowns that your models, by their very design, can't possibly see coming.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to really think about. Take a look at your career, your finances, your personal goals. In what part of your life are you putting way too much faith in a neat and tidy map, while maybe ignoring the complex, messy, and totally unpredictable territory of reality?